Today is a birth story episode, and boy, oh boy, do I have some birth stories for you. We talk about miscarriage, followed by 3 babies in 4 years, all born using hypnobirthing. And that is just the beginning of what we discuss. Welcome to the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I'm Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins, a board-certified OBGYN physician and certified integrative health coach. Every week, I break down topics, share birth stories, or interview experts to help you have your very best pregnancy and birth. Quick note, the information is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. See the full disclaimer at ncrcoaching.com/disclaimer. Hey, you. I am so glad that you are here because this is a great conversation today on the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I am talking with Dr. Charmaine Gregory about her birth stories. Charmaine is a speaker, author, physician coach, burnout thriver, podcaster, night shift emergency medicine physician, and wellness champion. Her stint with physician burnout really propelled the manifestation of resilience and strength in her life, and that fuels her commitment to wellness in the form of exercise, mindset coaching, and self-care. Charmaine speaks nationally on the topics of burnout, wellness, night shift life, work-life integration, and fitness. She's the author of 2 books, The Chronicles of Women in White Coats and Thinking About Quitting Medicine, Volume 2. She has a personal podcast, Fearless Freedom with Dr. G, and hosts the Women in White Coats podcast. Now, today, Charmaine is here talking about her experiences giving birth. We have a great conversation, and you are going to learn a ton from her experiences. She definitely has what you would call unique and not necessarily typical birth experiences, especially for a physician, but there is just lots of great information here, lessons to be learned, as well as some awesome encouragement. Now, before we get to the show, I want to do a quick listener shout out. This is a shout out to Stephanie RN. That's Stephanie, RN, so I presume she's a nurse. Stephanie left me my very first of what are now several reviews in iTunes, and she left this in early January. And Stephanie says, Dr. Rankins is very knowledgeable and breaks things down to where they are understandable and not so scary. I recommend this podcast to others who may want to learn more about pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Thank you so much for that review, Stephanie, and for being the first brave soul to leave me a review. Now, I would love to give you a shout out on the podcast too. So head to iTunes, leave me a review, and then I can give you a shout out on a future episode. All right, without further ado, let's get to the conversation with Dr. Charmaine Gregory. So, hey, Charmaine, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned in the introduction that you're an emergency medicine physician, as well as other things, a speaker, an author, a podcast host, a coach. But today you are here to really talk about your personal experience, not so much as a physician, but as a woman who has given birth. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you and your family?
Okay. So we are now a family of 5, and I married the man that I met when I was in college, but didn't realize that we were a match until I was in residency. So there was a big gap there. So got married, I was 30, so I got done with residency and then got married and started a new job all in the space of a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
We were fortunate enough to get, yeah, I know, it was kind of crazy, a little whirlwind. And, we kind of had in the back of our minds that, we were starting a little bit later than lots of colleagues, people that we'd gone to college with, and as far as the family. And so we wanted to kind of enjoy our, each other for a couple of years. So we did that. We tried to have babies. The first go of it was a little bit interesting because I had a very irregular menstrual cycle, like essentially from the very beginning. I mean, I would literally have a period like once every 70 days or 80 days,
Mm,
or, it was just like all over the map. And I just wasn't sure if having children would even be a possibility. So I kind of told my husband beforehand, I was like, look, there's no guarantee because
right.
I don't know.
Right.
So
Right.
we so we tried. I mean, we did the whole 1 year thing. And then we talked with our OB, and he suggested that we try some stimulants. So I tried Clomid, and the first couple of rounds didn't really work. And then we finally got pregnant, only to sadly lose the baby on Mother's Day.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
that, yeah, it was pretty terrible. But it was awful. But the positive side of that was that we were now aware that my body could become pregnant,
Mm.
and that was the positive side of that situation. So then the first child, so then shortly after that miscarriage, we were blessed with a healthy pregnancy, and then that's when our son was born, and he's now 10. So it's been a really cool experience, just kind of watching him grow and all that. And then I subsequently had 3 children in 4 years. So I was
Oh
literally
my
like
goodness.
pregnant, gave birth, nursed, pregnant, gave birth, nursed, pregnant, gave birth. I was just, I was just like, all right, if I don't get it done before 40, we're probably not going to do this. So he wanted
Wow.
4. I wanted kind of none, but settled on 1. And then we ended up with 3.
So you went from can I get pregnant to miscarriage to pregnant, deliver, pregnant, deliver pretty quickly.
Yes.
That is quite a
Yes.
whirlwind.
Yeah. In the middle of like being a new attending and trying to do all the things there and trying to get involved in academic medicine. So it was a lot happening, a
Yeah,
lot.
I bet. I bet for sure. So now you have three children. Tell us a little bit about each one of your births.
Okay. So the first one, so which is my son, the 10-year-old who is very rambunctious, by the way, but we love him to death. He so the pregnancy went fine. Like I I was literally like taken aback by it because I kept on hearing all these stories of, how horrible pregnancy can be and all these things. And
How old were you?
so I was like 33, I
Okay.
guess.
Okay.
I was 33 and I got pregnant. Yeah. So they basically, I had a beautiful pregnancy. I didn't really have morning sickness. I mean, it was like a dream. And so, of course, I'm very type A in that regard, like in certain things, not everything, because I'm kind of laid back at work. But because I have to be, you have to be able to have a cool head in emergent situations. But throughout pregnancy, I was like looking at all the stuff, and I was researching everything, and I was determined. I was like, I am not, because I had a really good friend, and I know this is an anecdotal story, but I had a really good friend, my best friend. I was there for the birth of her second child, and she had gotten an epidural, and it didn't work. And so I saw kind of what she went through, and I was just like, wow, I didn't think these things didn't work. Like, what I mean, I know
Right.
people talk about it all the time and they usually work, and that's the majority of the time. But in her case, it didn't work. And I was just kind of like, it didn't work. And then after she was done giving birth, feeling everything, she still couldn't walk. I was like, oh no, that's not going to be me. So I made a decision at that point that I was not going to have any drugs for the delivery. And so then I started researching ways in which I could accomplish this. And I came across hypnosis. And so I did a
Okay, so you
program.
have got to
So
tell
there,
us, you got to tell us all about this hypnosis for birth. I know our listeners are going to be very
oh yeah,
interested in hearing about this.
oh yeah. And so it kind of drove my husband a little crazy though, but that he kind of came on board at the end. So there's a program called Hypnobabies, and
Mhm.
apparently it is one that can be done as a live program, but none of the live programs were anywhere near me. And so I said, "Oh my gosh, this is not good. What am I going to do?" So then I found out they had a home study program. So I ordered it and I started doing it. And I started listening to the MP3s and really going through all of the mental exercises and the mindfulness that goes along with it. And I just did that. I did the program like all the way through. I think I started maybe like the second trimester, and I
Mhm.
did it all the way through to the end. I had my birth plan all set.
How
I
long did it,
had
if you don't mind me asking, sorry, how long did it take you to go through the program?
so it's a 6 week program.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did it like a couple times in there. I was able to kind of get through it a couple times.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's self-paced, so you can kind of like do it however, as you're getting it, and you can move to the next thing, and then you can go back and review.
Got
And
it.
then they have specific ones that you specific mantras that you say every day, and specific mantras that are going to help you during the actual active labor process.
Okay.
So
So you got through that, got your
so
birth plan, and
I got my birth plan all together. I'm one of those patients who, and I know you're like, what? I'm one of those patients who don't check me. I don't want to be checked. I don't want my cervix
this
checked.
is so interesting. Yeah, I think people have this perception that physicians, you know, don't, we're really, really into medical intervention necessarily. And it sounds like you're describing something not quite like that.
Yes, you're right. My friends all thought I was crazy. They're like, "What?" I was like, "Trust me, I am not." And so I did. My doctor was like, "Of course, I'm like close to that advanced maternal age, right at 33."
Right.
So then, he's like saying, "Well, you're not quite there yet, but just think about these things." I was like, "Look, this is all I want. I want you guys to do the 20-week ultrasound. Does the baby have 4 chambers of the heart? Does the baby have like hydrocephalus? Does the baby need any kind of surgery immediately after birth, or do I need to deliver at a specialty hospital?" Like that was all I cared about. I was like,
Right.
okay, no, great, we're good. you know, I'll give my pee at the visits, but nobody is putting a glove on and checking the
Right.
cervix.
Right.
He
Right.
he he, he thinks I'm crazy, but we know each other socially too, so he knows like my deal.
Finding something to wear during pregnancy shouldn't feel frustrating, and with Armoire, it's actually fun. Armoire is a clothing rental membership that gives you access to high quality, beautiful pieces that fit your changing body and your style. You take a quick 5-minute style quiz, pick what you love, and fresh styles show up at your door in as little as 2 days. I recently tried Armoire, and y'all, I loved the dress they sent. It was flowy, flattering, and it had pockets. I felt so good wearing it. You know that feeling when something just fits right? That's what Armoire delivers. And for you, Armoire is the answer to feeling cute and confident in maternity clothes without spending a fortune. No more clutter, no more wasting money on clothes that won't fit in a month. Just stylish, feel good options on your terms. Right now, my listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/Dr. Nicole. That's armoire.style, ARMOIRE.style/Dr. Nicole to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today.
And so, so then, everything goes well. So the day now when I'm in labor, I'm timing it and I'm like, okay, these are getting on the close side. Now my husband's like, "Are you sure you're in labor?" I was like, "Dude, I never done this before, but I'm pretty sure that I'm in labor." So he
Right.
was like, "All right, how close are they?" And I was like, I told him, I was like, "But I don't think we're a go just yet." So he decides he's gonna go golfing. I'm like, "All right, go
Yeah.
golfing. If you're gonna go golfing, I'm gonna go shopping." Okay. So I get in my car and I go to Target and I'm like in Target and like pushing the car. And then there's like a little contraction. I stop, I breathe through it because there's a lot of breathing exercises that go along with the hypnosis program.
Uh-huh.
So I'm doing that. And then I'm like, shopping or whatever. And I get home and, we do everything in the evening and we go to bed. And so I'm in bed and then I feel the wetness. And I'm like, I tap him on the shoulder because he's asleep. I tap him on the shoulder and I'm like, dude, I think my water broke. And he's
Right.
like, your water didn't break. I was like, dude, I have never done this before again, but I'm pretty sure I didn't pee on myself. So that's water. It's got to be amniotic, right? So he goes, okay, fine. So he reaches over, puts his head in it. He's like, you're right. Oh my God.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm like, all right, my bag is already packed at this point. And I have like, I had my cute little pink pajamas, for afterwards and everything and all the stuff in my little hospital bag. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to go there all stinky. I'm going to go a shower. So I go and I take a shower and I'm like taking my time. And, thankfully this is in the middle of the summer. So it wasn't there wasn't an issue of like bad roads or anything because we get pretty nasty winter storms and sometimes the roads can be pretty bad. So we go to the hospital and they're like, oh, it's your first baby. It's going to be a while. And I was like, my water already broke. It's not going to be a while, but nobody believed me. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So then, so they're like, do you want anything for pain? Do you want epidural? I was like, no, I don't. I was like, you can put an IV and give me some fluids and I should be good. And so, my husband was trained to be the coach. I hate to say, hope I didn't sound too like derogatory saying trained,
No,
but he was like my coach. And so he got the music going and the different mantras going, and we're going through it and everything. And I was getting in the zone and the contractions are coming closer and closer. And then it was time. I was like, guys, I think the baby's coming. And they were like, no, it's still, because it hadn't been that long.
Right.
Literally, like by the time I got to the hospital, it might have been like 2:00 in the morning or something. And, and I was starting to feel like this is imminent probably a few hours later. And so they were just kind of like, no, okay. I'm like, all right, well, I'm getting up. So I get up and I'm like moving around and everything. And then I lay back on the bed and I'm like, I really do think this kid is coming. And so they take a look. And of course, he's crowning.
Oh my goodness.
Then he got kind of stuck on my coccyx a little bit. So, there was that. And so, but anyway, he came out, he was fine. He had a big hematoma in the back of his head. And yeah, did it without any drugs.
Okay.
And it was fine. I was able to get up right afterward and go take a bath, take a little shower. Well, like not shower, but like sit in the spa thing that they had there. And I was able to walk around the room and hold him and hang out with him. So it was a very beautiful birth experience.
Yeah. So
I'm not going to say it was pain free. It's never going to be pain free, but it allows you to have your mind go somewhere else during those, 2 minutes or whatever it is that, you really feel that intensity.
Yeah. So you felt like the hypnosis really helped you?
Yes. I did feel that way. Okay. So much so that I used it for all the other ones too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then and we'll talk about how it helped you through your other 2 deliveries. I'm curious, how did the hospital staff respond to you saying, I'm going to use hypnosis, or did you even bring it up?
Oh, I told them this is what I'm doing. My money's green and this is what I'm doing. I'm sure they probably went to the nurse's station and was like, that crazy Dr. Gregory is like, she's in there trying to wing it with, with her quote unquote hypnosis.
Right.
But I didn't care.
Yeah. So in the moment you felt like you just went contraction by contraction, even though it was painful, you were able to deal with it.
Yes.
Okay.
I definitely, and I don't know, because I've only experienced this body. I don't know like what it is like for other women, so perhaps my pain threshold might be different already. And then this just aided it even more, and that's a possibility. But I do believe overall, and I even talk about, I know this sounds kind of strange thing to say as an emergency physician, but like I do talk to my patients when I am able to, when they're not in a crisis. I talk to them about the power of their mind. Like,
Mm,
whenever I have a patient that is acutely ill and their mindset is starting to dip into the negative, I really try to like go the extra mile to talk with them, hold their hand, encourage them, give them some words of encouragement, because I feel like the mind is extremely powerful. How you physically are is a lot to do with your mind. And so it didn't surprise me that I was able to utilize mindfulness to control my pain.
right, right, right. And I agree 100%. The mind is very important, very powerful. And no one's saying that, you can cure or fix everything just using your mind necessarily, but it certainly plays a huge role, and it definitely doesn't hurt. And it also can help you feel more like calm and in control of a situation for sure, because you have control over your mind. Nobody else does.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, what were your other two births like with hypnosis?
So now the second one, I was advanced maternal age when she was born.
I'm gonna guess that you weren't really feeling that label too much.
No, I wasn't. I was like, why y'all gotta put that on the freaking chart? I'm sorry,
Right.
can I say that?
Yes.
I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, I just don't get it. But then of course the offerings of all of the testing, and I was like, I'm not gonna get those tests, because if the test show me something, I'm not going to be terminating the pregnancy. So what's the point of getting the test? So they knew that I was the one that didn't want any of the tests, didn't want, I just all out, like I said, the same thing again. I just wanted that 20-week ultrasound, and of course checking my urine to make sure I'm not going into like preeclampsia or anything like that during the time. So I was pretty fit, and I worked out during all of these pregnancies. So the second one, I did a lot of yoga, and because I had really bad sciatica with that pregnancy, and so I did a lot of yoga, and that really helped. And of course, I pretty much worked like right up until, I'll tell you about the third one, because the third one, it was kind of ridiculous at that one. But
Uh
the the second one, everything was smooth, good pregnancy again. So definitely feel incredibly blessed. Then at her birth, she was the one that almost fell on the floor.
oh.
So basically they basically said, again, they were like, so the first time they were like, your labor's too short for a first time mom. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then the second time they were like, oh, you couldn't be ready right now. So she's born in the winter. The last two were born in January. So it was kind of rough getting to the hospital. My water didn't break for her. It was kind of rough getting to the hospital because the roads were bad. So, it took a while. And of course, it's like you're bumpity bump over the snow, and that's not comfortable. Even though I was sitting on my pillow, I had my body pillow with me, still
Right.
didn't make a so, there was that. So I kind of felt like I was going through contractions when I wasn't, because of
Just
that.
the ride and the
Just
snow
the ride
and
there, and
oh
the
my gosh.
trepidation of like maybe not getting there, even though the hospital's not that far from my house. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I hope we don't deliver this kid in the car.
Right.
And so there was all that angst. So the hypnosis helped me to kind of calm down during that, and help my husband too.
Right.
Um, because he's not medical. He's a computational chemist. So he's like, okay, what is this? I don't want to look. When it was happening, he kind of stayed at the head of the bed, like he didn't want to look and see. And so we got to the hospital with her, and she was just like, she was crowning, but the bag was still it was still intact, like, and my water never broke. So they were like, all right, well, we'll break the water. And I was like, all right, fine. They broke the water, and like literally 2 minutes later, she was like ready to come out. I was like, dude, I cannot. And with her, I was actually like, I was like in the not kneeling position, but like I was squatting or something. I was in
Okay.
some kind of weird position to kind of help gravity to get her out. So they're like, getting all gowned up and everything. And I'm like, I can't hold this baby anymore, guys. I can't hold her in. And I did a push and I pushed and then I pushed again and then she flew out. And I was like, oh my
Was
God.
anybody there? I mean, was it
Yeah,
like
they were there, but they were like still like getting
stunned
geared
because
up,
she was right,
and yeah, they were like not expecting two pushes, right?
right.
Goodness, this nurse is like a gem. She caught her by her leg before she fell on the floor.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, I know. So to this day, we call her the surfer baby because she surfed on out.
The water broke and she rode the
He
wave
was
of the
like,
water
he was
right on
like,
out.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here. So she's a fiery one too. She's like full of life. Yeah, so that was the second one.
Okay.
And
And
then
did you
but
and
she
you had a
was
physician for your care during that pregnancy as well?
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay.
did.
Okay.
I wanted to do hypnosis, but I didn't want to deliver at home. I definitely
Right.
wanted to deliver in a hospital.
Right.
Not that I was anticipating that there would be any complications, but just wanted to do that just in case,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah,
you just
for
never
sure.
know.
Yeah.
And I know that people deliver at home all the time, no problem. Like my mom and my uncle were delivered at home, but they didn't have a choice there.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
you know, I didn't mention that my son, I mean, everything was fine, but he did have to go to the NICU just for a procedure. So he had some blood and it was like basically he coughed up some blood
Mm.
and so they scoped him and it turns out that it was just blood from the birth because he had a
Okay.
little bit of McLean, a little bit, and there was a little bit of trauma there, like I said, because he got stuck on my tailbone.
Gotcha. And for the listener, scope just means we just look down with a camera.
And then the daughter, this second child, now she was jaundiced, so we ended up having to be admitted to the hospital while she sat under the Billy lights, her little
Okay.
visor,
Okay. Okay.
which meant no sleep for mom because she kept on squirming and the visor
Right.
kept coming off. I'm
Right.
like, oh,
Right.
baby
Uh
girl. First you shoot out and then you have jaundice.
right. And then the third one.
Okay, so this third one now. Oh man, each one of them. It's so amazing how each kid is so individual in
Very
what
different. Very
what
different.
they bring. It's amazing. So this one, so I was like, now I'm even older, right? So I'm like, all right, I am determined to make this be the most awesome pregnancy ever because I don't want anybody telling me that because I'm at advanced maternal age that I can't have a great pregnancy and a great delivery. So of course, I took my like exercising to like the next level. I actually ran a 5K at 27 weeks,
Wow.
which I know is crazy, but I was doing that and I was lifting, I was doing like a body pump, which is like a whole body weight based kind of exercise program. So I was doing that. I was doing my yoga and I was just working out, like a lot. So much so that I literally worked out. I was pushing up weights the week that that delivered her.
Wow.
And then so her story is kind of funny because we when I had my children, there was no paid maternity leave. Like you were guaranteed 12 weeks that your job would be kept for you, but you weren't paid anything during that time. So it was a huge decision to have children because
Mm-hmm.
that was 3 months of no pay. And like I said, I did it kind of consecutively. So there, each time we took a big hit.
Right.
So I was like, I am working up until that very last day because I want this baby to come. And I literally put it out there. I was like, I want this baby to come on my last day of work because I want to have the full time with her because
Right.
the other two were off by maybe like a week or a few days. And I kind of felt like I was cheated the time off.
Gotcha.
So this one, she was like, okay, mom, I got you. Right. So I went to work. I went to work that night. And again, it was winter. I don't know why I decided to have January babies twice. So it was winter. So I got to work. I was at work and I was literally in labor at work. I was like talking to the patient. I'm like, excuse me, step outside, breathe, come back inside. I'm sorry. What were you saying? Like that was literally
Right.
how it was. My poor clerk was like at her wit's end because she's like an older lady and she like kind of like, she's kind of like a motherly figure. And so
Right.
she's like, oh my God, Dr. Gregory, I can't believe that you're like in labor. Like, what we're going to do? Like, how far apart are the contractions? Like, she was like all in. Like, she was all in. All the nurses were all in. They were like, what can we do for you? Like all this stuff. And so then finally, so the shift ends at 7:30. And I was like, man, these are getting closer and closer. I probably should go upstairs. I go upstairs, and first of all, they were like, "No, let's take you in a wheelchair." I'm like, "Why? I've been walking the whole shift.
Right. I
Like,
can walk. I got this.
I can walk
I'm
up
not
here."
disabled. I'm just pregnant. Yeah.
This is funny. So I go to the triage desk, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm about to have this baby. Blah blah blah." And so they're like, okay. So they, they're like still not thinking anything's gonna happen anytime soon. So I'm like, all right, no problem. So they get me settled in the room, and my doc. So the last two babies were not delivered by my OB. They were delivered by partners in his
Mm-hmm.
practice, right?
Okay.
And every time I'm like, dude, you got to deliver at least one of my babies. Like, why are
Right.
my OB dead, right? So and he
Right.
always joke about that. So I was like, okay, this one you are definitely gonna deliver, right? And he was like, yeah, I'm on tonight. It's great. It's perfect timing. So I'm like, okay. So, he was like, do you want me to, because the contractions were super quick. And then I said, but the water hadn't broken again, just like the last baby. And so he was like, do you want me to, do you want me to break the bag again? And I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. Then he walks away. No, first, the last thing I said to him before he leaves the room was like, dude, don't go too far because I'm sure the baby's coming soon. Right? So he's like,
Right.
oh, yeah, I think it's fine. No, we'll keep an eye out. Okay. So I'm like, all right, this is how I felt just before the other two were about to come. And my husband's like, what, really? And so he gets on the patient what is that thing? Intercom, and he
Uh-huh.
tells them that the baby's coming. The nurse comes in, and my doctor doesn't come in at this time, right? The nurse comes to like check and see the situation, like figure out what's happening first. And so I'm like, all right, well, you can be over there gloving up, but I'm gonna let you know that I feel like I'm gonna push, and when I push, usually the babies come out. So she was there putting her gloves on, and I was like, I can't hold the baby anymore, and I just pushed, and the baby came right on out onto the bed.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
I was in my squat position, like I was up on the top of the bed, because I knew what was gonna happen. So I
Right.
like was up on the bed, and I had my hand on the handles, and I just pushed, and then out she came. My husband was like, "Oh my God, oh my God." He was like, I really need to see that. I really need to see it. I was like, yeah, babe.
So there's one thing I know. I'm going to listen to a woman who doesn't have an epidural. She's done this a couple times before. If she says her baby's coming, her baby's coming.
Yeah, I don't think they disbelieve me, but I think they just didn't think it would happen that
That
rapidly,
fast, yeah.
So, yeah. And then she was like, oh, the baby's out. I was like, yeah, the baby's out. So, of course, everybody's like rushing in at that point. I'm like, oh, it's kind of late.
Right.
Yeah, so she had a very I basically was for that one I was joking with them. I was like, so do I get a refund now? Because you
Right.
guys didn't do anything. Like she delivered herself.
Right. Right. Right.
And she was the one kid that didn't have anything after she went home with us right away.
Okay.
But yeah, no, so that was those were the 3 birth stories.
Yeah, so you have had quite the interesting range of showing that things can be similar. So each one you did hypnosis.
Yeah,
Each one things were pretty quick, but also things were a little bit different. Like your water didn't break, like it did the first time.
right.
And each one needed different things afterwards. This is something that I try to stress, that each pregnancy and each birth is a different experience. So you can't necessarily say that one thing that happens one time is going to happen the next time.
Right, right. I mean, it's almost the way I look at it is like the pregnancies, the births, and the children are always going to be different. They're not going to be alike in any way, really.
That is a very good way to put it. For sure.
Because
For
they're
sure.
very different people.
Yes, 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 yes. That's a good point because I think, and no, don't get me wrong. I think it's great to learn from the stories of other women because you know the ranges of what to expect. That's why I feature women telling their stories on the show. But that's an excellent point. You don't expect that your children are all going to be the same. So you certainly can't expect that each pregnancy and each birth are going to be the same. So, looking back, would you recommend hypnosis for women? Would you say that it was a great thing for you?
Yes, yes. I definitely think it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I will say though, the caveat being what I mentioned before, you have to be all in because it doesn't work if you're not, right?
Okay.
Like everything else. Like if you're doing mindful practice, you have to be all in on the mindful practice and you have to be consistent with it. If you're not, then it won't work.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Makes perfect sense. And then, were there any other resources that you found helpful during your pregnancy other than and you use Hypno Babies, right?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
hypnobabies.
Oh, any other books or resources or anything else that you found useful?
I was a avid reader of Fit Pregnancy. So that magazine, but Fit Pregnancy was the one that I read a lot because I was kind of nervous about all the things I was doing
Mm-hmm.
activity wise.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I just wanted to make sure, that, and I cleared with my doctor first, of course.
Okay, that
Um,
was what I was going
and,
to ask. And you should, women, I will
yeah.
say for those listening, you should continue to exercise and work out during your pregnancy. You may have to modify it a little bit, but it's perfectly fine to keep doing.
Oh yeah. And but what I would say is, I wouldn't be somebody who doesn't work out regularly and then all of a sudden start doing strenuous exercise when you're pregnant. I don't think that's
Absolutely.
smart.
That is
But
not
if you
smart.
but if you've been running, like I have a colleague, she has 3 kids also. And I mean, she runs marathons and she did them when she was pregnant too. So it's like you just wear a belly band to support your belly. Or you just do certain things, but you can still do your usual activities. So I guess this is one thing that I will say though that I regret about the working out and it's the way that I did push-ups. Like I really shouldn't have done the push-ups the way that I did because
Mm,
it weakened my abdominal rectus muscles, and so I
okay.
have a little bit of diastasis recti as a consequence. So I have like a hernia in the front, like the middle.
Okay.
Um, and so what I should have done was I should have done my push-ups not like standard push-ups, which is how I was doing them, and I probably shouldn't have done as many planks as I did. I should have really done things on the incline or against the wall. Like that's one regret, because I think that wasn't helping me, right? Because I mean,
Gotcha.
afterwards, I had to do. I'm still working on it. This is 7 years later. I'm still working on my abs as a consequence when I could have avoided that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's the
Okay.
one thing that I would caution people. Just make sure you do the exercises in the appropriate manner for someone that has a uterus sticking through.
Gotcha.
you know.
Right, right. So, just to wrap up, what is the one thing that you would tell other women as they get ready for their birth?
I would say that the biggest thing is to make sure that you focus on your nutrition and your overall wellness, mental wellness. And that can be in many, you could address that in many ways. Like for me, I made sure that I did things that made me happy, and it could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as watching your favorite television show once a week or something, or reading a book or knitting a blanket or whatever it is, whatever that thing is that's going to give you that mental peace, I think is huge. And then the other thing to remember is that when you're pregnant, and again, I only have an N of 3 with this, but like when you're pregnant, you feel like so amazing. Like you're, like all these hormones are, flaring up inside. Your hair is like thick and bouncy, and, you have a glow to your skin, and you just feel so awesome, right? And I do realize that there are some pregnancies that don't feel like this. So,
Right.
I don't want you to that if you don't feel this way, that something's wrong with you, because there's not something wrong with you. But I'm just talking from my experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so you do have this awesome high that lasts for literally 9 months. And you do, once the baby is born, you do have a low that comes with that, because it's almost like you're high, 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 and then you just get dropped. And I don't know how else to explain this, but
Right.
I didn't really appreciate it as much with the first two, but that last one, I had it really bad. I didn't get to the point where I actually had like postpartum depression, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely had the blues, and they were pretty intense. Like I was just kind of like, oh, this is it, and it kind of didn't help that the first 3 months, to me, in my opinion, again, I'm saying my opinion because this is just from my experience,
Right.
the first 3 months are the roughest months of parenthood. And,
Completely.
because
I will concur.
they are the roughest. They are
Yes.
I mean, anybody who's like, all these people who are on Instagram or, social media talking about like, oh, it's so wonderful. It's not.
And what
It,
I
to
mean, I
be real
remember
with
sitting up,
you,
yeah, and I don't want to
yeah.
get going over. I remember sitting up in the middle of the night, holding my baby on the couch at like 3 o'clock in the morning, like, what are we doing? Like, can we go
Yes,
to
yes,
sleep?
for
The first three
real.
months are rough. It is not
First
like
three
a
months are
vacation.
rough. It's
Mm-mm.
not. It's not. And so, so it's rough for you. You don't have that euphoria of the pregnancy anymore, and you have a loving individual who doesn't know how to show you love yet.
Mm.
They all they know to do is cry, poop, cry because they're hungry, they're
Yep.
dirty, or they're sleepy, and they can't tell you what the cry is for, and you're getting no feedback on the positive side. But there is a silver lining. Right around that 3 month mark, when you feel like you're about to lose your mind all the way, like, oh my God, why am I doing this? The little cherub just like rolls or turns their head or rolls towards you, and just flashes that gorgeous gummy smile that makes it all better.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely it's worth it. It's an awesome experience if you're able to be a part of it. It's awesome. And no matter what, you are enough. Okay, mom, like literally you're enough. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not. Don't get into that rut of feeling like you're not. You are enough, and you don't have to be like, the Hollywood moms or, other moms that make it look like it's perfect, because it's not. Real
Yeah.
life is messy. Real life is dirty. Real life is not scheduled and what is this thing called, filtered and all
Yep.
beautiful. So you're enough.
Well, that is a perfect place to end. Thank you so much for being here. That was a ton of great, useful information, sharing all your different experiences with pregnancy. Where can women connect with you if they're interested in finding out about more of what you do?
So I have a podcast. It's called Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. And that is a podcast focused on helping professional women face fears, overcome them, and emerge victoriously. And I'm on various social media platforms. On Instagram, I am FFW Charmaine. On Twitter, I am Charms Fit Doc. And on LinkedIn, I am Charmaine Gregory, MD.
Okay. And I will link
Yeah.
to all those in the show notes, folks, so you can check out her stuff, check out her podcast for sure. And again, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. This was a great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now, see, didn't I tell you that that was going to be amazing? I really enjoyed our conversation, and I know that you did too. So, after I have a guest on the show, whether it's an expert interview or a birth story, I like to give something that I call Nicole's Notes. It's just my top 3 or 4 things that I took away from the conversation. So, here we go. First thing I took away is preparation. If you intend to have an unmedicated birth, then it's best for you to prepare. Charmaine says she went through the hypnobirthing program, the 6-week program, not just once, but twice during one of her pregnancies. So preparing can be a really big part of making sure you're able to have that unmedicated birth if you want to. And you don't have to do hypnobirthing. You can do other programs if you want, but do something to prepare. Number 2, Charmaine was not afraid to advocate for herself. As she said, my money is green and this is what I'm doing. Now, I know that you may be thinking, well, she's a physician, so of course she can advocate for herself. And that's true. She may have a little bit of, a leg up in the medical community, but she didn't do anything that you can't also do for yourself and that you shouldn't feel comfortable doing for yourself. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself if you need to, or have someone with you who can advocate on your behalf. Number 3, Charmaine talked about that emotional wellness piece and how important it is to look out for your emotional wellness. She talked about mindfulness. She talked about doing something as simple as watching your favorite TV show. She talked about how exercise was an important part of her emotional wellness. So be sure to do something to take care of that emotional part of you. And then the last thing that Charmaine talked about is that you are enough. Don't compare yourself to what other folks are doing, what you see on Instagram or filters and Facebook and all that stuff. Just know that you are enough. All right, so what were your top takeaways? Let me know in the podcast community Facebook group. If you are not already a part of the group, you should be. This is where we can connect after the show and discuss episodes and share insights with one another. So go to Facebook, search for All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast community, or just even search for All About Pregnancy. It should be one of the first things that pops up. We will review your request to join within 24 hours. That link to join the Facebook group is also in the show notes. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast in iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. And if you feel so inclined, I'd really appreciate you leaving an honest review in iTunes. It helps other women find my show, and I would love to give you a shout out on a future episode. Next week on the podcast, we have an expert interview with a very special doula, Keisha Graham. Keisha's going to talk about what doulas do, how to choose a doula, and so much more. Until then, I wish you a healthy and happy pregnancy and birth. Today's episode is brought to you by Women's Wellness Coaching by Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins. Head to ncrcoaching.com to check out my free 1-hour mini course on how to make your birth plan, as well as my comprehensive online childbirth education class, the Birth Preparation Course. With over 8 hours of content and a private course community, the Birth Preparation Course will leave you knowledgeable, prepared, confident, and empowered going into your birth. Head to ncrcoaching.com to learn more.
Location, the lab. Quentin only has 24 hours to sell his car. Is that even possible? He goes to Carvana.com.
What is this, a movie trailer?
He ignores the doubters, enters his license plate. Wow, that's a great offer. The car is sold, but will Carvana pick it up in time for...
They'll literally pick it up tomorrow morning. Done with the dramatics?
Car selling in record time.
Save your time. Go to Carvana.com and sell your car today. Pickup fees may apply.